Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy. Spanish Grand Prix. Not a lot to talk about. Definitely nothing in the last few laps to discuss. Tommy, you're wearing that Max Verstappen shirt. Are you wearing it with pride right now? Or
spoilers already.
Spoilers?
Well, yeah, true.
You're allowed to tell me how you're feeling, my brother.
I'm feeling annoyed, angry, disappointed.
Just a day in the life of a Ferrari fan.
Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling the whole Ferrari pain right now. What a crazy end to the race. So much drama. Actually, a pretty decent race that we thought before that safety car would be talking about how the strategy played out and stuff. But instead, we had a mini sprint race at the end and all hell broke loose.
Okay, now before we dive into everything controversial and spicy and tasty from the Spanish Grand Prix, we need to, of course, mention the P1 Live Show Delusion Tour that we have announced this week. And we have Amsterdam on August the 28th. That's sold out. I'm really sorry. Seattle, November the 4th. San Francisco, November the 5th. Denver, November the 10th. Dallas, November the 11th. Toronto, November the 13th. Chicago, November the 14th. New York on the 16th. Then Dublin, December the 10th. Manchester, December the 14th. Glasgow, December the 15th. And London, December the 17th. Although I'm hearing in my ear that maybe, just maybe, London is sold out. And if it hasn't, it's very nearly. So get your tickets now.
Get your tickets while you can.
Indeed, can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome. It's my favourite time of the year doing the P1 live shows and cannot wait to get into it. Link will be in the description, of course, as well, if you want to buy your tickets. Right. Also, big shout out to our wonderful Patreons who will be getting extra chat at the end of this podcast and also, of course, get priority questions in the pod as well. And you guys have come in with some really good ones this week, it has to be said. We've both been very impressed. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive into it right now. And start with my most memorable moment. And no, it's not Charles Leclerc getting a podium. As of recording right now, he still has a podium.
We're about to find out.
We'll probably find out during the podcast that he gets a penalty, and I will be up in arms. But my most memorable moment is the Max incident with George Russell. It should probably be plural, incidents, because of course...
Yes, there are two, yeah.
Turn 1 is where it began. Actually, it began
Final
before that.
turn.
It began around the final corner. Not necessarily with George, but the fact that Max Verstappen, again, another thing to talk about. There's so many things to discuss, Tommy. My brain can't cope. But of course, Max on hard tyres to begin the safety car restart. One of the strangest strategies I've seen.
I'm popping off about
in
that
a
later.
while. Oh, yeah, we'll save that part. But of course, he then loses the car. Charles gets in a lovely slingshot because he didn't have hard tyres on and did a bit of contact there. We'll get into that a little bit later. We're talking about the Max versus George because, of course, into turn 1 we go. George sees the opportunity. Fair play. George is an aggressive wheel-to-wheel racer, but usually very clean. And he just popped up the inside, didn't he, with the soft tyres, saw the opportunity and made a bit of contact with Max Verstappen. Now, this is where, of course, it all starts to unravel for Max Verstappen in particular. Now, that one is to be dissected, of course, because George gets up the inside. He has enough of the inside to call it his corner, but he could not say that he was in control of his car. And that is the part where we need to dive into. But let's talk about that first bit first, Tommy, because I think there's about 10 compartments to what we're going to have to all go through here. But that initial attempted move from George, it wasn't, for me anyway, a clean move.
It wasn't because, we've watched it back on the SkyPad, as we have it here in the UK, and, they slowed it right down. And George is, of course, very close to Charles Leclerc because Max has only just been passed by Charles. George sees the opportunity, which he has every right to go for. And you see that Russell basically loses control in the dirty air a little bit. He can't basically keep his steering wheel straight into the corner. So therefore, he's slightly out of control of his car. It's not like he's completely like losing his car like crazy. He just isn't fully in control because he gets a bit of the dirty air going into that corner and he runs slightly wide and they basically bang wheels. Now, watching this off board, which we saw, my initial thought was, well, and the same as Red Bull's, because we'll get into this later, was, well, Max has just bailed over the runoff there. He's a sitting duck, and he's just thought, well, the only way for me to stay ahead is to just straight line the chicane and stay ahead. But actually, looking back, I think he had every right to be annoyed that he was, not the consequences, but we'll get into that later, but every right to be concerned and question why he was being told by his team to give that place back, because George did collide with him. It wasn't the cleanest of moves, and I think had the next bit not happened and he'd have stayed ahead, we would have been at the stage right now where they would have both of them in the steward's room and they'd be talking it out, and I think Red Bull would actually have plenty to argue and maybe even not have to override it.
Yeah, that was a very strange call, and there were a few from Red Bull today with the strategy and also with telling Max to let George through. I know a lot of the time Max will argue over the team radio, I was ahead, I was this, I was that, like in Saudi, for example, but there wasn't really a leg to stand on there. I think there was this time
for this
out
one. I think there genuinely was.
A country mile. It's contact. Max
when Sky Sports F1 is saying it,
well.
then it probably is.
Yeah, well, there was big contact. It wasn't even just like a really small touch. It was enough for Max to be unsettled and to take to the runoff. And I think that he is well within his rights to do that and to claim that George had not pulled off that move. So for that, had he just carried on his merry way and Red Bull had not told him to relinquish the position, I think we would have had a much more calm and composed end to that race, perhaps with Max, of course, still coming
under
pressure.
He'd be ranting over the radio, yeah. But
yeah,
but
he would have stayed ahead of George. So there would have been maybe a little bit more of that to unfold. But instead, we had the next part. And we'll tee it up with a question from P1 Pitch member Matthew Cole 04. What was that from Max against George? Was a 10-second penalty too lenient? I am mystified as to why that happened. And I know that sometimes Max can boil and see red. We've seen it in the past. But this one seemed, and I don't think there's any better way to describe it than unnecessary. The fact that he's gone to let George through, he's pulled over to the left-hand side. Of course, it's a left-hander coming up, but he's slowed down. He's allowed George to get half a car length ahead and then decided that I now no longer want you to come through, and
like
bled
he
off
changed
the
his
brakes.
mind mid-corner,
yeah, like
mid-swap.
Now, this is where it's hard to decipher what exactly went through Max's head, because it could be one of a few things. Now, he lets George through, kind of, and then actually goes, no, actually, hold on, it's not my fault. I'm going to keep the position. Like at that last split second, he's decided, I'm going to try and stay down the inside. He's misjudged it because he's on hard tyres, and that's why that collision has happened. Or he's trying to make some kind of, trying to
statement,
put some message down where he's tried to like play the rules a little bit, where he's let George through, but then overtaken him immediately into the next corner, which isn't actually allowed anyway. You can't give up a position and then not even give it up fully before you then take the position back. He would have got a penalty for that had he kept the position down the inside. I've seen some, I saw someone reply to you, Tommy, who is in fact Dutch, and I think a journalist, saying that the Charles Leclerc move was a worse thing than what Max pulled off, and that George maybe misjudged it. I'm like, how on earth?
I don't think you can blame George for that one.
I cannot see any realm where George is in the wrong there. He's taking the position, and Max has, in my opinion, I'm trying to give Max the benefit of the doubt that I don't think he's just full-blown just wanted to crash into George. I think he was trying to make some kind of statement.
Because as of recording, we also haven't heard Max's opinion on it.
Yeah, we haven't heard Max's opinion. We haven't seen an onboard of his because apparently that wasn't available to Sky.
In 2025, we don't have the onboard of the world champion. Crazy.
I know that they have to select some things, and I'm like, but why? This is literally one of the biggest sports in the world. Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. I would like to give Max the benefit of the doubt that I don't think he's just wanted to crash into the side of George. I think it's more a case of him trying to put a statement and misjudging it on the hard tyres and obviously making a fool of himself. And I still think he deserves an incredibly harsh penalty. But I'm trying to see a little bit of I think it's more of a mistake, which makes him look terrible, than I want to wipe George out of this race, like some people are maybe saying.
That's interesting because I'm the one wearing a Max Verstappen t-shirt and the fan of his, but I think his move was absolutely outrageous. And I think
I'm not saying it wasn't.
No, I know.
And I think it deserves a huge penalty.
It does.
I just don't think it's gone in his head, I want to take George out right now, like some people might suggest.
He's acted almost like it is like a video game or something where he's let his frustration show on track, and you can't do that in a Formula One car. I think what the actual incident itself is absolutely ridiculous because Max pushes the limits all the time when it comes to trying to win the world championship. And we saw what he did to Lando in Mexico, for example, and we had the discussion. It's not very sporting, but he's actually a net gain because he's stopped Lando from getting points. On this situation, he drove like he had nothing to lose, but he had everything to lose because he was actually sitting in a decent position. I understand the frustration, and we'll get onto this because I think the Red Bull strategy was ridiculous. That with the fact that they then tried to call him to give the position back, he probably saw the fact that he was fighting the McLarens, challenging for the Grand Prix, and then his head thinking, oh my word, I'm going to finish about 7th or 8th here. But then in doing that move, he did finish way down the order, and it's cost him so much. He had nothing to gain from doing that. He has to have that part. I understand his frustration, and they're racing drivers. They have a huge amount of adrenaline, and it probably boiled over for him. But your racing brain kind of has to go, well, me ploughing into the side of someone, that was always going to be a very harsh penalty. You're going to lose all your points. Never mind just a couple for giving the place back, even if you think it's wrong, but that's just not in Max's DNA to he's a very stubborn racer and always has been and always will be. And he clearly felt there's maybe at the last minute when actually, you know what, I don't want to give this place back because I don't think it was. And on the evidence, I don't think he did need to give it back, but he definitely shouldn't have done that. No way.
We don't usually do this on the podcast, but I've seen that the Max interview is actually available for us to watch. So we will return as soon as we've watched this clip that we're going to watch together, Tommy, right now. Okay?
Okay.
Right, we're back. We've watched the interview that Max has had with Sky and Rachel Brooks, and he told us nothing. So that's really, really useful.
Well, he did tell us something by avoiding the question. And I personally, I'd love to defend him as a Max fan, but I think him avoiding the question and saying, does it matter, and then trying to change the subject, for me, tells me everything that I need to know about it, that I personally think it was a deliberate move out of frustration. That's my opinion, and it will always be opinion if he chooses not to tell you. Because
so let me go back 5 minutes. You know, when I was saying that I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt, no, I'll take that away now. I'm taking that. After watching that interview, it's sometimes.
Why would you not say
unspoken,
no? I locked a brake or whatever if it was indeed that.
I misjudged it, and
he's fuming. You can tell. His reaction. He's absolutely raging about the whole situation. The fact that he's not quick enough, he's spoken about. He was talking about his championship hopes being basically like, can I even challenge for the championship because we're too slow? So all the frustration is there, but he changed the subject of what actually happened there. And, I watched it live. I think I personally, even before that interview, could see what he was doing. We've seen something similar before with Sebastian Vettel in Baku in 2017. And I think using your car as a weapon in terms of kind of frustration is one of the worst things you can do in a Formula One car. And it needs to be severely punished. And it was with Sebastian Vettel. He got, to answer the question that was asked ages ago, because there's so much to dissect here, was a 10-second penalty too lenient? I would say yes. I think it needs to be a drive-through penalty which is what Vettel got, because how he's still got a point from that, I don't know. Not that it really matters in the grand scheme of things, I don't think, but he still ended up with a point. It should have been a drive-through penalty, which dropped him out of the points, personally, in my opinion.
I love it. Personally, in my opinion, this is just coming from my brain.
This is literally one Formula One fan's opinion of the incident. And people disagree, but that's just my opinion.
People can disagree. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry. We know that it's your thoughts, Tommy. We're all good. We're here to share. It's a safe space here at the P1 world. I agree. I think that it was a stop-and-go penalty worth 30 seconds at the end of the race. Using your car as a weapon is exactly the right terminology here, and if anything, I would argue that what Max did today is worse than what Vettel did against Hamilton. That was under safety car. It was very slow speeds, and I'm not here to compare the two incidents as such, but yeah, it was not good enough from Max, and it's disappointing actually to see that kind of interview, to be honest with you, because whether he's trying to skirt around it or not say much because could he get in more trouble, I don't know, but it would have gone a long way to say, well, I guess he has to be careful, doesn't he?
He has to be careful of going, yes, I did use my car as a weapon. And it's Max Verstappen, he's never going to admit his fault, and that's part of his character, whether you like it or not. He would never will. And I know it frustrates people because there are other drivers on the grid that, are more honest, wear their heart on their sleeve and stuff, but Max is, he will never take blame for an incident. Even when we got to the end of the championship last year and he was asked about various incidents that happened throughout the year, he'll just shrug it off and go, well, I think he even admitted in a Formula One interview going, well, I'd never admit to it because that's just his character, and that is what he and how he chooses to go racing, whether you like it or not, because he doesn't want to show any kind of cracks or weakness. But you can't deny that this is a weakness of his game, because it showed that he's got completely hot-headed and done something stupid that has cost him a chunk of points, when realistically just settle for either don't let him through and settle for fourth, or let him through and just try and hold P5.
Yeah, and even in the interview as well, he kind of, again, probably in the fact that he was raging, saying like, do I even have a chance in the championship? Max is incredibly calculated, and he knows that there's a long way to go in this season. And I'm sure deep down he is probably kicking himself over what he's just done, because it's cost him, as you say, a massive amount in this championship that can easily change between now and the end of the season. So, yes, the penalty was too lenient, and I am still trying to process what we've just witnessed. Question from P1 Petro member Zingy13. How should the FIA handle the Max penalty point situation? I doubt that they will want to give Max a race ban, as the optics of having the reigning World Drivers' Champion is not a good one. Well, I think if we look back to Vettel, he got 3 penalty points for the incident with Hamilton. I expect, as of recording right now, he will get 3 for this, which will put him on 11.
And it's 12 for a ban.
And it's 12 for a ban. And I know, Tommy, you've said from day one they will never ban anyone for a penalty point infringement over 12, and they did with K-Mag.
They did.
So
reluctantly, after quite a while.
I don't know exactly when they expire. I don't know, Tommy, you're a big Max fan. But in terms of how he now navigates from the rest of this time that he's on 11 points, I am slightly worried for Max's appearances in the future, if this is how he's going to react to difficult situations. It's so tough, because we've been applauding him so much this season for how he's put that car in places it doesn't belong, and I agree with Rachel Brooks in the sense of it kind of leaves a sour taste. It does. It really does.
Yeah, it does. It's not why I support Max Verstappen and the kind of driving I like, and this is the frustrating side of supporting him sometimes, because he has these moments. I think he does go over the line, but then he has those brilliant moments like Imola, where you applaud him for being a ballsy, aggressive driver, and that's the brilliant side of it. This is the worst side of it, where he does something silly. I'm actually looking up the points now, and he will have 2 expire on the 30th of June, so not till next month, and then it's not till November that he gets. So he's going to have to be very careful this coming month with the next 2 races.
Yes. So will it expire going into Austria? Because we are on the 1st of June now. So I imagine it's only one race that he'll have 11 points.
One race.
Yeah,
so he's got to be very careful at Canada, basically.
Canada. Interesting. Okay, let's go quickly before we head to your most memorable moment, Tommy. The thoughts on the Leclerc incident as well, which is still under investigation as we are here right now. Of course, this was the fact of Leclerc getting a better run past Max and then them going side by side, and Leclerc quite clearly coming over and then making contact. I am, and this might surprise some people, not of the opinion that he should get a penalty for this. You know, there is the coining of some things just being a racing incident. And I believe that it's 2 drivers fighting for DRS. I think Leclerc does make a small mistake here for sure. You know, he comes across and there is contact. Is it penalty worthy though? Like, is Max impeded so aggressively by this light touch that it even deserves a conversation? Well, apparently, according to the stewards, it does. Now, maybe I am just blinded by my fanboyism, and Tommy, you're going to shoot me down here, and Leclerc does need a penalty, but I don't think so, and I don't think I would call for this, and I know some people don't believe me when I say that. I don't think I'd call for this in any situation where it was just a light tap on the straight with two drivers trying to fight for slipstream ahead. 15
penalty points and a disqualification, I think, for sure.
Okay,
in my totally non-biased opinion. No, I think it'd be hugely harsh if he gets a penalty to lose his podium. It's a little bit naughty. It's kind of cheeky. You know, they're battling, they've banged wheels, but we've seen that before. And you know, a little bit of wheel banging on the straight. It's not affected Max too much. I think Max's reaction to it is more the fact that, you know, he's seeing his race go completely out the window with the hard tires, the huge snap moment that he had, and then to have that incident, he was just raging at that point. Basically, I would be amazed if he got a penalty. I think it would be very, very harsh. It's not completely he's a completely innocent in it, because the overtaker needs to be clean with their overtake, but it's not like he's completely tried to move over on him in a really aggressive way. He's basically edging slightly to the left, hoping that Max will move, and maybe he forgot it's Max Verstappen, who will never move ever.
Yeah, because that is what you tend to see, right, when 2 cars are fighting, is that they sort of dance with each other and play a little bit of chicken and this sort of stuff, and Max was like, I will not play this game of chicken, thank you very much.
Yeah, true. So that's probably what he thought, but it's. I personally think it's a bit of a nothing incident. I see why they're investigating it, but I'd be amazed if Leclerc gets a penalty. But, well, we've still got plenty to talk about, so you never know, we might find out.
It might come in whilst we're recording. Love it. Right, Tommy, what's your most memorable moment, please?
My most memorable moment is basically just the Red Bull screw up as well, because, you know, I've spoken about Max completely basically just making it 10 times worse, and had we not had this incident between Max and George, I think this would have been the biggest talking point, is that strategy at the end for Red Bull. So yeah, already mentioned that I think it's crazy that they told Max in the first place. I think that's an error from them to tell him to give the place back to George. They know Max and what he's like as a driver and how heated things get. So they kind of added fuel to the fire there. I think from that was a mistake. But I can't believe they decided to go for the hard tires, and I know that it's all about tire allocation and what you've got left. But why you wouldn't gamble when there was only ever going to be a handful of laps? we'll get maybe into later about how long it took for them actually to get going with all the lapped car things and all that kind of stuff. But he would have done a lot better, in my opinion, being in the lead on softs. And yeah, in a couple of laps, Max would have got his elbows out. It would have been fascinating to watch. But in a couple of laps, he probably would have fell foul to the McLarens on fresher softs, maybe. But then, it's hard to pass. And then he's in a better position. He was always going to get mugged by the people behind him in a safety car restart when you're on hard tyres because they can't heat up and, they don't switch on as quickly. So I think that was a really bad call from Red Bull when they'd done such a good call to do that 3-stop in the first place to kind of keep McLaren guessing and not just let the McLarens run away with it. So I was very frustrated watching that as a Max fan, wanting him to challenge the McLarens to see him on hard tyres. It felt very Ferrari-like, basically.
Okay, guy, come on. Leave Ferrari alone for just 2 seconds.
But it's true. It felt
agree.
like Leclerc at Silverstone kind of vibes, right? Way back when it's like, why are you on the hards? You're just going to be completely swallowed up by everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we got 6 laps of racing action in total, didn't we? At the end of that, after the safety car just doodling around, and I get it, or dawdling around. You get Antonelli out of the way. I appreciate that. Then it's the lapped cars coming through. Then we wait for the lapped cars for another lap, which I think is just one of the most ridiculous rules ever. To wait for lapped cars. They're already half a lap ahead. They're not going to cause any carnage. To then wait for them for an additional lap, it's just bizarre. But yeah, when we get to the actual restart, I am surprised that. And maybe it's because there was an assumption that we could get 8 laps of racing or 9 laps of racing. I am still surprised that they didn't roll the dice with Max. It was so late in the race. I don't think Max beats either McLarens. Maybe not even Charles, to be honest with you, holding on at the end on those older softs. But at least he had track position. At least he could do something to cause a bit of carnage.
Do you think, though, that this is what I find interesting that no one seems to really be talking about? Max's tyres, he had 8-lap-old soft tyres. They hadn't done 40 laps. They hadn't done 20 laps. It's 8. Why would you not want to be on better? It's not like he's gone through an entire race cycle. He'd only just pitted, really. And I understand why the leaders would go, all right, we want softer, because we know how much the tyre wear was. But, and maybe this is my delusion, speaking here, but I think if Max had been in the lead on soft tyres that were only 8 laps old, I think he's definitely on the podium. Let's not forget though that Max Verstappen was treating every lap like it was the last qualifying lap of his career on these tyres. Like, he was not nursing them in like you would maybe. I don't think it's an easy comparison. Though,
nah, bro, maybe, he came out and did a 17.1 on the soft tyres and was like 8/10 clear of the fastest lap at the time. Like, Max was not holding back, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's not the right decision. Definitely not. But it maybe that's why they thought these soft tyres. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself on the pit wall here as to why they thought, let's give the hard tyres a go. But the hard tyres were never a viable tyre.
No,
we didn't see anybody run it. So it was the wrong decision. And I think the worst decision they could have made, bar putting intermediates or wet tyres on.
Yeah, because we said this on the watch along, didn't we? That we had a comparison of Liam Lawson, who was running at the bottom end of the points. And we said that if he drops like an absolute stone on his kind of used softs, we'll know that actually that was completely the wrong decision. And he didn't fall off a cliff. He finished 11th, and he did lose a bit of time, but not loads of time. And we know how difficult, dirty air is, things like that. It's 6 laps to try and hold off, even if you can't hold off the 2 McLarens. It's crazy to me they didn't go for the gamble. And surely, and this is another debate. If Max is in this kind of opinion of, well, we can't challenge for the world title, Red Bull have to roll the dice then. Why not just go all out for the win? Because they have to win. They have to win these races. So
I'm surprised Max didn't, though, as well. We're saying that Red Bull are the ones to make these strategy decisions. I'm surprised Max didn't go,
maybe he didn't know
Let's
it was
roll
going to
the
be
dice
hard
here.
tyres, because I guess he knew after.
I guess he was questioning it immediately, like, what are
because
these tyres?
if you say pit, he's probably not in his head going, oh, my allocation for the weekend is this, and this.
Yeah,
they probably just said, come into the pits, and then he comes in, he sees hard tyres and goes, if I knew that, I probably would have said stay out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I would have liked to have seen an alternate reality where he did stay out, because I think we would have got a really exciting last few laps.
Yeah,
and Max would have absolutely got his elbows out. I don't think, he would have had the McLaren's number, but perhaps he definitely would have finished higher than 10th, that's for sure, with everything else that kicked off. Next question, it's P1 Patreon member OK Wafer 523. Does this pretty much end Max's chances at a Drivers' Championship, assuming McLaren will continue to run 1-2 in a majority of the remaining races? It's these weekends couldn't happen. Whether it was a DNF for Max or a head loss like we saw today, they cannot afford these moments, because not only is Max behind in the championship, but we can't categorically say that Red Bull are going to be quick at many of the races this year. And he was reasonably quick today. He went for a 3-stop strategy. Yeah. He went really aggressive, and he was fast out there.
He got Lando in at the start, so he was running second.
Got Lando at the start, put himself in a good chance, and it all just came tumbling down for him, sadly. And now 49 points behind Oscar. Yet we've had 9 rounds. We're going into the 10th. It's a 24-race season. There's still a lot of races to go, but any betting person would say that you would expect the McLarens to continue to stretch that advantage with the occasional Max victory at a potentially crazy race. Max needs to pray that the next 7 races are wet and that changeable conditions and things that can bring him back into this title. But I am of the opinion that he will require a few miracles from here on.
He requires now Piastri and Norris doing a Mercedes 2016 and colliding with each other and wheel banging, which we still haven't seen and we'll get onto later. But I am still in my cycle of it's over. Oh, never count him out. It's over. Never count him out. And I am.
It'll be pole in Montreal.
I am more. Yes, very true. But I'm more. It's over than I ever have been before, because I think we said that these are the races Max has to win, but at the very least he had to kind of stay within touching distance of the McLarens. Let's not beat around the bush here of the fact that may as well have been a DNF. His P10. It's 1 point. Yeah. It's now 2 race wins, pretty much that he's behind now on Oscar. And when McLaren can rock up to every circuit and even make a mistake in qualifying or have a bit of a scruffy race, they're still finishing first, second, or third every single time. Normally first or second. So it is an absolute monumental task for Verstappen to still be able to win this championship. And I think that the big kind of kick in the teeth for Red Bull is the fact that this was the race they were banking on, of the technical directive hits. We were within a race win of the McLarens. Hopefully this now swings the performance in our favour, and then we go, right, Max is absolutely in this. But instead, they're leaving the race with basically an entire 2 entire race wins behind. Couldn't really go any worse for them.
No, and I've just seen, as recording, that the paperwork from the FIA and the stewards for the Max Verstappen George Russell incident, he has got 3 penalty points, so it is now 11 in the current 12-month period. Just to kind of go through the reason, I think, as well. I think it's worth seeing what the stewards saw. From the radio communications, it was clear that the driver of Car 1 was asked by his team to give the position back to Car 63 for what they perceived to be an earlier breach by Car 1 for leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. In fact, we had later determined that we would take no further action in relation to that incident. Oh my God.
So they didn't even need to do it.
Admit that they were not going to give any penalty
Red Bull
for the Max George incident. I was convinced that they'd been on the blower to be like, yo, Red Bull, we're about to give you a penalty, give the position back.
Wow, so Red Bull took it into their own. Yeah, they have fumbled big time.
Fumbled the bag with that one.
What are they thinking? Yeah,
Goodness gracious me.
That is a fumble. I mean, you can't, it's still Max's hot-headedness that's got him in trouble.
The initial fumble is that,
But the initial fumble is definitely on Red Bull there. Like, why have you... It's basically... Have you seen the meme where the guy's cooking the pasta that's already on fire and he throws it and it flames up? That's what Red Bull have done there. They've gone, you've got a massive beef with George Russell, and you get quite triggered by him, and you've got a bit of history there. Let him through. No, that is literally like throwing fire. Throwing like oil on the
fuel?
bonfire, basically.
Yeah,
fuel, that's the one.
Throwing fire on the fuel. Here we go.
Or that, maybe.
Additionally, It says the driver of car 1 was clearly unhappy with his team's request to give the position back at the approach to turn 5. Car 1 significantly reduced its speed, thereby appearing to allow car 63 to overtake. However, after car 63 got ahead of car 1 at the entry of turn 5, car 1 suddenly accelerated and collided with car 63. The collision was undoubtedly caused by the actions of car 1. We therefore imposed a 10-second time penalty. It's interesting that they kind of, in that wording, they've said that he's suddenly accelerated and then crashed into George Russell and then gone, that's a 10-second time penalty. Like it feels like the wording is almost leaning towards that was deliberate.
Yeah.
And yet still only gave a 10-second time penalty. Very
odd.
Very, very lenient indeed. But good. It's like a live podcast. We love to see it. Like
it's all
kind of getting
off.
Things as we're continuing to record. Let's move on now to the next question from P1 Petro member F1 Audrey. Is this Piastri's championship to lose? And do we see an F1 legend in the making? Okay, F1 Audrey is proper kicked off there. Wow, that is a serious Oscar Piastri fanboy if I've ever seen it. He has continued to impress me with most sort of notably his race pace. It's where he lacked in his initial stages of his Formula One career. And we get into his third season of Formula One, third season, hasn't even completed 3 seasons yet. And he's got Norris's race pace. He does. I genuinely believe that Norris might have the edge today if Lando could get some clean air behind Oscar and then close up behind him. And there were points where Lando looked quicker, but Oscar was able to manage his tyres.
He
was able to manage his tyres and push where needed to keep that gap at around 4 to 5 seconds. I don't think it's his championship to lose as such. Lando is still a brilliant driver, and we saw in Monaco, he's still got these performances in him that can close the gap. I think this, if we're not going to have DNFs for one side of the garage, that perhaps opens up the championship margin to something that's unassailable. I think we could get this go all the way down to Abu Dhabi, where it is taking points off of each other. I think Oscar definitely has slightly more momentum at the moment, but I think it's a little bit presumptuous to say right now that Oscar is so far ahead of his teammate and that it's his to lose right now.
He's not so far ahead, but I think he is proving that he is the favourite, I think, personally. You look at, and I think quite comfortably, the favourite. Lando deserves all the plaudits that he got for his drive at Monaco, but Lando's 2 wins have come from essentially like a wet race in Australia where he was brilliant in tricky conditions that he thrives on, and then Monaco where he put in that sensational pole lap. But in the more normal dry races, Oscar's been the one that has been winning them, and he's got 5 wins to Lando's 2, and he is driving so well that I thought after Monaco maybe it changes a little bit and Lando goes in with loads of confidence and puts in a great qualifying lap, because that's the kind of thing that's maybe let him down a little bit, is qualifying after because he had that amazing qualifying lap in Monaco. Right, he's got the confidence in the car now. And actually what's happened is it's the biggest pole deficit all year. And then Lando's not, he's driven an all-right race. It's difficult start again where he's been passed by Max, which meant that he was always on the back foot to try and catch Oscar. And then
we kind of thought that might happen as well, didn't we? With the fact that
he
was off the racing line, it's harder to get off that side of the grid.
Indeed. And then the fact that every time he kind of really put the hammer down, and you thought, we're finally going to get the McLaren fight, Oscar was just like, okay, see you. You do that. You do that, hun. and then just kind of and just pulled away. And Oscar just looks so calm and cool about the whole thing that it's almost like Monaco should have been like the big turning point for Lando, and Oscar's just come back and gone, "Nah, I'm still here. We're all right, thanks." Yeah, it's an amazing drive again from Oscar. He's in the absolute pound seats to win the championship for sure. The thing about F1 legend in the making, though, just to throw maybe a slight bit of negativity there, is we're getting a rule change next year. And I don't know if McLaren will be this dominant force like they were. That we're going to go into an engine formula where they don't have their own engine. So this might, I don't think it'd be their last ever chance, but both McLaren drivers need to absolutely make sure they're world champion this year, because it could all change next year. So this is not just Piastri's moment, it's Lando's moment as well. They have to give it everything to make sure this happens, because they may never get a better opportunity to be world champion in their entire career.
There's no guarantee that McLaren are going to be quick next year. However, we did also say that when McLaren signed with Mercedes engines, that they were kind of signing being behind Mercedes, didn't we?
Yeah,
We questioned it then. We said, no way McLaren are going to be able to build a better car than literally Mercedes, and they've done it. It's, and also as well, let's not forget, they will have a Mercedes engine in the back of their car next year, which we deem to be very quick, or think it's going to be very quick from 26. Yeah. So it's not over, but I fully expect the pecking order to be shuffled with sort of Ferrari 7 to 8 tenths clear of the rest of the field. Does that sound good? You down for that? All right, perfect. P1 Patreon member Mike Savage asks, are we ever going to see the McLarens go wheel to wheel? No, I am convinced they're ghost cars for each other. They are in time trial.
They're only allowed to fight Max, basically.
Like, of course, we saw Lando and Oscar go to wheel slightly in Imola, but that wasn't fair. Oscar was on old tyres, and it was great to see them go wheel to wheel. It was a great move by Lando, but I just want to see a fair fight. But the thing is that they're so closely matched that when one gets out in front, like Oscar today, Lando couldn't really do much about it. And that's where it comes to my previous point about Piastri and how impressed I've been with him, is that he is continuing to improve and continuing to have that understanding of the Pirelli tyre to be able to extract the performance out of it for the whole race. I'd love to see it. I think the way we're going to see a wheel-to-wheel bit of action is having one of the drivers clearly having a standout performance compared to the other, but the other is going to be in the lead of the race, because then we need to see that pace discrepancy. I think it's the only way.
Maybe this is too harsh to say, but I think that the way we get it is for Lando being ahead in qualifying, because when Oscar's out in front, he just looks so comfortable. And
which is mad to think, when you look at literally last year when it was the other way around.
But you look at the races where, and it's been very few, where Lando's been ahead and qualified better and been ahead. We had Australia, where Oscar was all over the back of him at one point before being told to kind of back off, and then there was the lap traffic, and then he had another go, and was looking very racy, and then of course it kind of never materialized because of the rain, and they both went off, and obviously Oscar was the one losing behind there. And Suzuka, where Oscar was behind again and feeling like he was faster and could challenge Max, but realistically that was never going to happen because they just couldn't overtake Suzuka. So you kind of need Lando to qualify on pole and Oscar be the one chasing, because I think that's when we're going to see them go wheel to wheel, because Oscar seemingly has more pace in the race and is a bit more quicker and able to maybe like push a bit more. And I hope I'm wrong, because I want to see Lando in second place take the fight to Oscar, because that is what we need for this championship to be spicy. Again, we've had another race weekend where the McLarens are 1-2. It should all be about McLaren, and we're talking about Max Verstappen again. And that pretty much sums up this championship, doesn't it? That we're not seeing the McLarens fighting. It's Max trying to get in there and try and do something. So we need to see them fighting, please.
I beg.
Please,
I need to see
beg.
It. We need to have some drama. Next question. P1 Pitch, remember, Captain Obs 3420. How did Hulkenberg not get driver of the day? Drive of the season? Nico Hulkenberg in the green wheelie bin just somehow rolled it to P5 at the end. I know we joked, didn't we, at the safety car restart where he was running in 9th, I think it was, that he could win come through the field because he was the only driver in the top 10 to have a fresh set of softs. Big brain plays from Hulkenberg to get knocked out in Q1, have all the fresh set of softs available to him, and then come through the field in one of the greatest... I mean, he was up 5 places at the start, somehow took to the escape road and still got away with nothing. It was chaotic for Nico, and then he pulled a move on Hamilton at the end on fresh softs. I'm like, what is going on here? What year are we in? But it was a brilliant drive from Nico Hulkenberg. I love to see that kind of drive from him because I feel like he was almost having quite an anonymous season, apart from obviously where he scored quite a lot of points at the beginning, wasn't it? Is Australia?
Australia in that crazy race.
He scored some great points. But apart from that, he's in a car that has been the slowest or second slowest car. So I'm actually really happy for him to have got such an awesome performance like he did today.
It's an amazing result because they've gone into this weekend and it's been a track that they've seemed pretty good at. So to deliver a P5 is absolutely insane. Can you imagine we do our top 5 predictions before the race? Imagine we like to get a comment if we even put like sometimes even a Ferrari or a Hadjar or something in the top 5 and people going, what are you watching? Imagine if one of us had put Hulkenberg in there and the comments would have been, and yeah, he's finished P5, absolutely insane. And one thing that's actually quite funny, not funny to think about, is finishing 3 seconds off a podium, the closest he's ever been to a podium, and it's in a Sauber. It's quite a mad thought, isn't it? Yeah, probably the worst car he's driven in his whole career. And it's within 3 seconds of that elusive first podium. Oh,
just 15 more laps, Tommy. Just 15 more laps, and Hulkenberg would have got that. Can you imagine him on the podium in 3rd place in the Sauber overalls? Yeah. You'd feel like you're playing literally the F1 game in career mode, and everyone's been set
everyone's
to equal
DNF'd or
yeah, crazy stuff.
Madness.
Question from P1 Pitch, remember, Worm. What is going on at Mercedes? Reliability issues again? Yeah, it's not as if they're building a car that's ridiculously fast and fragile. It's all right, pretty decent, pretty good at times.
And fragile.
And then fragile as well. Yeah, it's, of course, don't forget, Monaco as well.
That's 3 and 3, no? Because Kimi Antonelli had the breakdown in Imola, then George in Monaco in qualifying, and now Kimi Antonelli again. Crazy.
We are so used to seeing Mercedes as this bulletproof, and to be fair, just generally...
And Formula 1 cars in general.
Yeah, being reliable. I don't really know what it points to be honest with you. Is it a case of them trying some experimental things with the car and it's not going well? It's hard to tell, but it's not ideal. I think Mercedes just realised that this year's it's in the locker. Like, it's done. We'll focus towards 26. I think Mercedes will absolutely tools down pretty much now.
Yeah, I think so.
For 26 and beyond. But it's not ideal, the fact that they're getting reliability issues.
There's a lot of theories as well that, of course, we know how Mercedes, more than any other team, are basically run their car so low that they're scraping along the floor, which is something that Albon mentioned, didn't he, in Miami, I think, of like, how is that car even legal? And there's kind of talk that it's basically scraping along the ground, they're struggling with curbs and things, and then they're so violent with their kind of bumps that sometimes it like knocks the electronics out and things, which is maybe what's caused it. We don't know the cause as of the moment, but yeah, to have 3 reliability issues with your car in a triple header in 3 races is just so unheard of in Formula 1 now. You pretty much see some teams just have maybe like 2 a year now. So to have 3 from 3 is quite insane, really.
Yeah, pretty poor indeed. Let's head to biggest winner, driver or team. Biggest winner, Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
that one in. Nico Hulkenberg, just
easy,
phenomenal stuff. Anyone else as a
Piastri
sort of
for just Just
bouncing back from Monaco.
Bouncing back. It wasn't even, but I know what you mean. Yeah. From the hype of Lando. It's got to be Nico Hulkenberg. Where is Hulkenberg now in the standings? He's 11th. Hulkenberg is ahead of Stroll, Sainz, Gasly, Tsunoda, Behrman, Lawson, Alonso, Bortoletti, Doohan, and Colapinto. And I said he'd be last.
And I think I said he'd be like second last. So I'll take the point when we review it at the end of the season.
Crazy.
Awesome stuff from Hulkenberg. What about biggest loser? I wonder. Oh, actually,
Lance Stroll not competing.
No. Before we go into biggest loser, actually, biggest winner, can we talk about the fact Fernando Alonso got points?
Well, some genius put him as their biggest good surprise, so we could talk about it then if you want.
Oh, he did. Okay. All right. Biggest loser then. Max Verstappen. That's my locked in. Yeah.
Easy.
Oh, no. You've really cooked in these predictions. I've just
how badly did someone have to do to be biggest loser other than Williams this weekend, by the way, who had an absolute shocker.
Stinker. Actually, I'll do an honourable mention and say Williams for there, because Sainz P14 and Albon DNF. Albon what was going through front wings like hot dinners in that race, and just coming off the back of 4 double points finishes to not score a singular point is a disaster, especially when it was a bit of a chaotic one as well at the end. So definitely worth mentioning. Right, if we have to, it's now time to reflect on our predictions that we made on Wednesday to see how we did. It's 2016 to Tommy, and then Tommy decided to essentially press the accelerator, from what I am gathering. So, my surprise was Max Verstappen. Are you joking me?
Wow. And my good surprise was Fernando Alonso, who finally got
scored points.
Yeah, and it didn't look like it was going to happen. He got 2 points, and I thought he's not going to get points again here. He went off, didn't he, as well? And still managed to get points despite everything. Insane.
Great work from Alonso and great work from you, Tommy. I hope you enjoy the point. For a big flop, I went for Charles Leclerc, and he was on the podium, unless he gets a penalty, in which case I will be taking that point for sure. Do we have any news just yet?
No news as of
not
yet.
That I can see. So, because if he does get a penalty and it's 10 seconds, he will drop to P8.
That would be harsh if he did.
That would be flop territory as well. So if I am going to be crying tonight about him not being on the podium, I'll take the point in the predictions instead.
If you just swapped your 2 round, actually.
I know. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah, I would have been cooking.
I went for Oscar Piastri, an equally bad one, who just won the race.
Yeah, pole and win. Pole position, I went for Max Verstappen, which was no.
And I went for Lando Norris, no.
Which was no. In third position, I went for Lando Norris, which was no.
I went for George Russell, which maybe, but not as of yet.
God, you actually... If Leclerc gets a penalty, I am cooked in these predictions. Because in second place, I went for Piastri, which was an absolute 0.
And I went for Lando Norris, which was correct.
Yeah, you did. Well done. And in first position, I went for Max Verstappen, which, unless he gets a minus 1 minute addition. No.
He argues the point that actually he shouldn't have been told to give the place back, so they reinstate him.
They reinstate him as first position.
Yeah. And I went for Oscar Piastri.
Jog on. If you get the top 3 with a Leclerc pen,
that's crazy.
I will be fuming. Although, to be fair, I will then get a point for big flop. So, but that would be a great little top 3 cook from you, Tommy. Well done. Really happy for you. Right. I did something right in the crazy prediction because I went for a biggest pole margin of the season, which was correct. So that's a W for me. And
I went for Lance Stroll out qualifies Fernando Alonso, which he didn't, and then he chose not to even race.
He saw that you didn't come through on the crazy prediction. Yeah. And went, I'm not racing now. I'm not racing. My hand hurts. Patreon prediction. I went for both Spanish drivers get points, and that was from DK164414, and sadly, only one of them did. And it was Fernando, who literally hadn't scored a point, and then Carlos, who'd scored 4 points on the bounce. Ridiculous.
And this is insane. His Serene Highness, 7 different constructors in the top 10, and it was 7. McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Sauber, RB, Alpine, and Aston Martin.
Oh my God, I didn't even think you'd got this one.
Absolutely
Are you
insane.
joking? All right, Grace is doing your predictions next time out.
She might have to. That is insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you scored...
Nah, Max
one.
needs a drive-through. Max needs a drive-through, then we get 6 constructors. Then Lawson will be promoted, and then it'll be 2 racing balls in the top 10. Lovely.
I know it's
I've been
still...
robbed.
Wait. McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Sauber,
7,
RB,
7.
Alpine, Aston
Wait, it's
Martin.
8.
Red Bull, it's 8. That's still right, though. 'Cause there's 7.
8! Well, does it say... Set... Right, we're going to go to the...
No
terms
way.
of...
No,
It says...
no, we're not matching that brilliant prediction.
Hold on!
You're gonna, wait. You're going to take away that amazing prediction from one of our paying Patreons. How dare you?
Absolutely. Can I just say, just for those that love terms and conditions, it says in the sheet 7 different constructors in the top 10,
And there were
8.
There were
7.
8.
There were 8.
7 of them were in there.
I'm kidding, half kidding.
Yeah.
So, but guys, if you want to come support me, I'm more than happy for that. Right, let's get to our family top 3 then.
Wait. Let's just calculate the scores just so we can see it.
Why are we calculating the scores at this point? What's going on?
I just want to see.
All right, go on then. Calculate
1,
it.
2, 3.
We're doing it. Oh,
4
right,
for me. And
4 for you.
1.
Well done.
So
1?
24, 17.
I got 2, didn't I?
Did you?
No.
No, you didn't.
Oh my God, I got 1. I am so cooked this year. It's crazy. I can't get anything right. Oh no, you are 7 ahead. This is the worst. I'm never turning up ever again to the P1 podcast. Family top 3. It's 6-2 to the Bellinghams. You're literally winning everything. In 3rd position, my mother went for Max Verstappen.
Close.
Which was where it was going to happen until they put hard tyres on the car.
Indeed. My mum went for Antonelli. No.
In 2nd place, my mother went for Charles Leclerc, which was actually not far away in the end.
No. But alas not. P2, my mum went for Max Verstappen. No again.
And in 1st, my mum went for Oscar Piastri, which was correct. Well done, Mum. Love that.
And my mum went for George Russell. So no. So it is now 6-3.
Oh
so
my goodness gracious me. No, it's closed up a bit. Shut it. You can only score 3 points in a weekend. So going to have to get some serious wheel knowledge on for the Canadian Grand Prix. And that is it. That is Carnage, that podcast. Let us know your thoughts. I'm sure you already have on how you saw the Spanish Grand Prix go down. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you all of this, as always. Love Formula One. Always gets me going when those 5 red lights are counting down. And we've got a week off now, so everybody can collect their thoughts as to whether or not Max Verstappen should be banned from Formula One for life. And we will then come back for Canada, where I'm sure Max will be so much more calm, won't he, Tommy? And your final thoughts?
And then he wins, and I say, "Oh, we're so back, championship on."
We're so back.
It's
we're going to be talking in the run-up to this. Will Max be banned after Canada? And then he'll actually just end up winning.
We never know. This what an insane kind of end to the race. I didn't expect to be kind of diving into such a mad incident. And of course, the P1 live shows will have plenty to talk about for this season, even if it's not the McLaren's wheel banging. I will mention that every single podcast until it happens, or maybe I don't. Maybe I'll stop mentioning it, and then they'll finally happen.
I think that's the case.
But yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to in those live shows. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, please come to the P1 Live Show Delusion Tour if you are in the places that I read out at the start. The link to that will be in the description, and we will see you very soon. Unless you're a P1 Patreon, and then you've got an extra bit of waffle coming right now. So look forward to that. But if not, see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.
Goodbye.